Welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. My name is Michelle Hartwig, and I am your host. I am also a race director for many Midwest trail races like Kettle Moraine 100, Hennepin 100, and next year the Midwest States 100 is coming. And I am here with my co-host, Crystal the Pistol.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm still really congested today. I'm sorry. So if I sound horrible, it's because I sound horrible. But
Yeah,
me and Henry VIII here, we're gonna get through it.
yeah, it's allergy season. It's a tough time of the
Yep.
year for sure. So, on the dirt, we get the dirt on trail runners that interest us. And tonight, our guest is race director, accomplished ultra runner, and an Idaho hero, Jeremy Humphrey. So, nice to meet you, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with us. I imagine you're tired after the I'm Tough 100 race directing just a week ago.
Yeah, so my wife and I put the race on, and we kind of put it on our back. And as you know, and as others can imagine, this year it was more complicated. With all the COVID stuff and the just the logistics of pulling it off and pulling all these people and resources together, it just kind of fought us every step of the way. Ordering T-shirts, like every little thing that you kind of take for granted that you can just get online and knock it out. This year it fought us. And then, right up to race day, just giant windstorm blows. I spent the whole summer chainsawing the course, perfection, not a single tree. 3 days before the race, windstorm, all these trees. So it was like it was trying to fight us the whole way. We kept rallying, we kept fighting. It's just, when you do it, you just dig such a deep hole, and I'm still just not with it. Took a week off of running. Tried to run yesterday. It was garbage. I'm actually really fit. It's just, I'm just too tired to be good at anything right now. We were supposed to do this interview a while ago, and I had to keep kicking it back. I just couldn't find a minute with the race. And, now here we are. I guess we're beyond a week past the race. It feels like it just happened. It feels like it's still very raw and fresh. It's just been an amazing summer. Very, very memorable, both great and terrible things just happening all around. But one to remember for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure your runners really appreciated to have an in-person race. I'm located just outside of Chicago. I put on races in Illinois and Wisconsin, so I'm just south of the Wisconsin border, and we can't gather 50,
Yeah.
and and actually a news report just came out that it might go back to 10 people can gather based on our numbers right now. It just came out today, Crystal. So I'm sure how was that for you setting up? What were your restrictions that you had in Idaho?
Well, Boise is 100 miles south of here, and they actually took a step back about a month or so before the race. They went back into recovery phase 3. That imposed some number restrictions. Some of the high risk businesses, I think, closed again, like bars. My county thankfully mandated masks a little earlier, and the businesses were great. This spring we didn't have much of a first wave at all, so it never really got here. It started to take off midsummer, and that's when everything. We canceled our July McCall Trail Running Classic, and kind of folded some of the components of that into our 100-mile for September, and we'll get to that. But the people have been really good about masks. So we actually, Valley County, where we're located, actually took a step forward, and we moved into a green recovery zone. We're still in phase 4, which is no numerical gathering restriction, uh, leisure travel permitted. So really, there were no restrictions like from the CDC or from the government, besides like the things you have to do to be able to get insurance. We did kind of a modified wave start. We put rules concerning the masks, and I mean, you had to mask just to pass a runner. You know, we modified the course a little bit. The first couple miles, instead of using some nicer trails, we kept them on some forest roads so that it can string out. We did I guess a slight wave. We split we split into 3 groups of 60 some. That way, the starting area wasn't too congested, and they were able to get on the forest roads and kind of space, you know, in that first couple miles. And beyond that, in a 100-mile race, the space is just vast anyway. I mean, you have people finishing in 20 hours and people finishing in 36 hours. I mean, that's I don't know, 50 miles of spacing. So, you know, we had 200 runners. We self-imposed a 200 runner cap. We could do more. It's about the quality of the experience, and not wanting to overrun small trailheads and the places that we need to access the aid stations. So there were modifications, but it was a real race. It happened. You know, I had to kind of, the biggest obstacle, I would say, was just my conscience. You know, I'm bringing all these people to my community, and there's no way that I can know for certain. You know, people show up. We took everyone's temperature. Crew also. I mean, I walked the aid stations and did crew checks. Everyone had to have a mask on unless you were running. To be anywhere near the race, you had to have a mask on. So we jumped through lots of hoops, but in the end, the competition was real. The hoops that we had to jump through were not really an issue to anyone. I mean, no one raised any issue with any of the, you know, there's lots of arguments against covering your face. It is a strange and sort of anti-American kind of thing. But that's what we had to do. And our community is so starved to line up and run a race that everyone, the discipline was unbelievable. I'm so proud of how everyone, no matter how tired and weary they are rolling into aid stations, you know, covering their face. It was amazing to see.
Yeah, I saw on
proud.
Facebook pictures, and I noticed that every time people were coming into aid stations, they had on the buffs and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we want to be able to be together, so we follow the rules to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that people took it serious. And I mean, I had to get real preachy and you know, play a role that I don't like hand holding. I mean, that's kind of the I'm tough. I mean, we don't have required gear. We don't have a required race that you have to do. You don't have to do trail work. It's just show up and throw down. You know, I don't want to take, so I've been a runner all my life, but I stopped competitive running in 7th grade. My next race was the Leadville 100. So all of this is happening because I was bored at work one day, and you know, I heard about this race and I just signed up and did it. You know, no training, no running. I was a rock climber. I mean, I've always been a runner, but you know, if I ran once a month or once every couple months. So we don't like hand holding, but you know, this year we had to lay down the law. I mean, in order to have a race with so much crazy stuff happening in this world, it was the only way. And people did it, and it was beautiful. It was an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, the I'm Tough 100 looks like one of the hardest, like possibly one of the hardest races in the U.S. can by the pictures, like you can't even tell where the trail is on some of those rock bluffs that people are running. Absolutely gorgeous. You obviously poured your heart and soul into designing that course. Can you tell us about how that happened?
Sure. So our first year was 2012, but I started to think about putting on a race when we moved to Idaho in 2010. I ran around, I kind of pieced it together. I kind of like, there's long sections of obvious trail, but then how you link the components and the aesthetics of how things come together is really what makes or breaks the race, because every area has a good trail, but if you have to run through 10 miles of garbage to get to the next section of good trail, then the race is judged by that. So creativity and just having an eye for putting things together. I spent a couple years doing it, and I ran around thinking of a cool acronym for a couple years. So I settled on Idaho Mountain Trail Ultra Festival. I'm tough, IMTUF. While I was piecing this together. And so the course was set, and from 2012 till now, I guess we had to change it a little bit in 15 because we had a fire. We almost changed it last year because we had a fire, but didn't have to. But I've always had this course in my back pocket. It's basically a smashing together of our July McCall Trail Running Classic 40 mile. It takes kind of the high points of that, and then there's a connection just north of where that footprint is into the giant southern loop of I'm Tough. So this year, because we weren't able to start and finish at Bergdorf Hot Spring, they didn't even open this year because of the virus, and it's very rustic, and the ability to clean and to space people properly, it just wasn't there. So we ended up having the race at Jug Mountain Ranch, a really nice golf resort and restaurant area just south of McCall. And we'd had 8 races there before, our 10, 20, and 40 mile July race, McCall Trail Running Classic. And we were able to combine the high points of that race with the southern loop of I'm Tough, which is the best part of it anyway, into what I call the super course. It's it's super because it's harder. It's like when you take like a super group or super band like the Traveling Wilburys or there's plenty of them, or the Golden State Warriors, when they added Kevin Durant unnecessarily when they were already the best. It's a super group, it's super team. So when you take the best parts of both races and you smash them together, I called it the super course. So it's definitely harder. It punished our runners. I had 48% finish rate. Part of that was the heat. It got ridiculously hot. The whole American West right now has been this month just ridiculous, and that's why everything's on fire and dry and messed up. So it got to the mid 80s, which is 10 degrees, 12 degrees maybe hotter than we've ever had. Saturday, the air was sort of clear. The heat mostly ground up most of our field, including most of the elite field. They went out hard and it just devastated, like cut it in half at least. And then by Saturday night, the smoke from one of the fires west of us, probably from Oregon, the smoke settled in, and that was just, an extra kick in the gut to the people that hung on. But the people that I think got through that initial heat, the smoke wasn't a big factor. I mean, most people made it through that. It was just, that heat was just something. I mean, this is always a cool, beautiful kind of fall, and it just felt like the dog days of August out there.
How does somebody prepare for a race like that? Like, if I noticed there was one person from Chicago that came out, What would you tell somebody, and a lot of our listeners are from the Midwest, and I've actually seen quite a bit of them say, yeah, I've been looking into that race. Like, what would you tell them to do? I know you don't handhold, but what would you tell them to do to be ready so that they're not surprised?
Well, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. I lived there for 25 years. Humidity, I would much rather have cooler and higher altitude. Like everyone worries about the altitude here. But heat and humidity of the Midwest, I think would have been a more useful training adaptation. So I mean, that's your normal I'm tough though is going to be chilly, probably cold like every time you go downhill and you get to the bottom of anything, all the cold sits there and it's just freezing cold unless it's like the sun's high in the sky. So it's a very cold race. Oftentimes there's ice on the trail and, everything's frosted over and people are cold. So the weather is usually very favorable and that actually means better finish rate. Like this year, the heat was the killer. So that leaves like, how do you prepare for the terrain? People in the Midwest, there are hills there. There are embankments, there are steep bluffs. Get off the trail and go up the hill. It fires up. So even just like hiking up a steep trail is so much less taxing. It activates so much less muscles. I don't know. Trails are for running. Hiking, it needs to be done off trail. Picking your route, finding your footing, becoming efficient in how the muscles fire. Because when you're off trail, the muscles like really go into hyperdrive because you can't get any rhythm. It's like just doing a series of lunges. But people that climb mountains all the time, like off trail and actually just peak bag, I mean, that's the best preparation. You still got to run your miles because there's plenty of running to do at I'm Tough. But if you don't specifically prepare for a pitch that's 40 degrees up and down, it's going to wreck your muscles. And it doesn't matter if you're a good runner or not. If your muscles are destroyed, you're not going to be able to run when it's time to run. So, this year the heat adaptation would have been huge, and hopefully you've spent a good amount of time cross country and bushwhacking, and even if it's just doing reps up and down a 200 footer, I mean, that's the best. If that's the best you can do, that's going to mean a lot more than just going for a local, 5K around your local trails in a city park. The footing has always been the killer at I'm Tough. It is rough. Like we don't have trail crews that go and make trails smooth. We have runoff and motorbike activity and it's just some points it's just there's no trail at all. Sometimes it's just piles of rocks. You just have to condition kind of your brain to deal with that. I mean, so that you have the coordination to be able to move, and also your muscles to just not be able, like, you can't just always be in rhythm. Sometimes you just have to muscle through, and that's what the course is kind of all about.
I believe I read or maybe heard on a podcast with you that you actually learned how to rock climb while you lived in Ohio.
I did.
So you actually, figured out how to climb mountains, and there's not many mountains in Ohio that I know of.
No. So the rock climbing came first, and well, we would go to Colorado in the summer and just kind of hike 14ers. I didn't really have any technical background. I mean, this is like in high school when I was probably a freshman, sophomore in high school. But by the time I was 18, 19, I was getting into rock climbing, and I was developing all these little crags around Northeast Ohio, bouldering areas, ice climbing. I found tons of ice that had never been climbed. And I would just go and solo a ton just because I didn't have anyone to climb with. Sometimes I would drive to New Hampshire. It was 14 hours to go climb around Mount Washington. And I would just go and just solo, like there's just grade 3, like 1,000 footers just all around like Huntington and Tux. So, pretty fast learning curve on that kind of terrain. And I I was training to be able to go to Alaska and, but it turned out like Alaska would have been good training for that because the weather in New Hampshire was incredible. You just step out and you're just covered in a suit of ice. It's so humid yet so like 40. How can it be 40 below and still that cold and that much humidity sticking to you? So yeah, I taught myself how to climb. A couple years later, I started climbing Alaska, or like around Mount McKinley. So I made a couple trips there. So I met my wife, Brandy. We got pretty deep into rock climbing, and we've kind of climbed big walls and kind of that kind of stuff all around North America.
That's really interesting to me. I have never done it, but I love seeing, the athleticism of someone that does. That's really cool. So when did it transition into ultra running? I mean, you're quite a accomplished ultra runner, like one big 100-mile races like Cascade Crest and the Bear 100, which is next weekend.
So I think one summer, I think it was the summer of 2008. That's when I did Leadville. Before that, Brandy like wrecked her ankle. She fell bouldering in the gym and she was laid up, and we were working hard and, desk jobs, like real jobs. And I wanted to go and just like scramble and solo, like up in the mountains. So I started getting up in the middle of the night, like we'd work all week, and then I'd wake up Saturday morning at like 2:00 and I'd drive. We lived in Golden, Colorado at the time. And I just started seeing how many mountains I could climb in a day. And I guess I kind of figured out that I could still run. I hadn't been running much, but I figured out that, I could run at 12, 13, 14,000 feet. And it was fantastic because you can get so much more done. You can link up so many peaks when you're moving like that. And I guess about the same time, the Leadville thing happened. Even though like as soon as I signed up, I tried to go for one run and I got shin splints so bad I couldn't run for 6 weeks till up to the race. So I basically just did it off the couch. But the seed was kind of planted. And I think it was a little over a year later, we moved to McCall. Brandy's mother has a place up here and we had visited, and we just showed up one time and just moved. So we just kind of had to figure it out. And there's climbing here, but it's not very developed. It's harder to get to when you're living on the Front Range of Colorado. It's just everywhere. So I kind of moved away from that, and I just started picking up running. I don't know why. My father, like his only wish for me, like his main wish in this world was for me to be a runner. To make my life as a runner. And I started running when I was 5, and by the time I was 11, I was just burnt out, destroyed. I mean, I couldn't be that person anymore. I have my times looking back, I don't even know if I can run that fast now. As when I was 10. I ran 17-minute in 5K cross country at the age of 10. I ran 4:55 at 10, 4:55 mile, 10. Those might be world records or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous to think about how into it I was, but I couldn't put that on my shoulders. When I was 31, I could finally embrace it. I was here in McCall, and my father died in a climbing accident on Mount McKinley, 2004 or 2005. Sorry. And, it's that gift, like when I discovered that it was still there, and here I am like living up in the mountains, and rock climbing has kind of gone away, and it's like I'm in my 30s now, and it's like it got its hooks back into me, and it's all I wanted to do. But then, like by then I was an adult. I could put it on my shoulders. I can deal with the pain and pressure, and I can guide my future and figure out how I want to burn my pack of matches. I don't have to be under someone else's thumb or someone else's expectations. So I went for it. And it, like my trajectory is so unorthodox. It's so weird. Like I don't run anywhere near as much as the people I compete against. I just can't. It breaks me. Sometimes I can binge, to get in training, but my average is pedestrian compared to what other people are running. I just had to figure out my way. I missed the whole development. A lot of people I run against were big in high school, college. They have these 100-mile week base just sitting under them. I skipped all that. I was, I was still a runner, but I was a, 10 times a year runner, not 10 times a week runner.
But
And
you were still climbing mountains,
Yeah.
14ers, that was getting you very fit.
But that's, the muscle was here, and it took a couple years to put it down, down below where it matters. It kind of had to redistribute. The first year I won a couple races, but I don't even know if I ran 20 miles a week just because I was hurt all the time. Figuring out like the shoes and how to, like, we have serious winter up here. All winter, it's just ice roads and treadmills, and figuring out how to deal with that. It took me a long time. I'm still trying to understand the seasonal flow. And, the big breakthrough this past year, and I didn't heed it, but I know I will next year, is I need to take March off. If I hammer all winter, by March, I'm going to be on the downslope. And it happened again to me this year. Like I'm into ski mountaineering, and, I go and backcountry ski, and it's great, but like I have to learn, you have to learn your own seasonal flow. And I think, I'm 41. I think I'm, one step closer to mastering that. But it's very particular to the rhythm of living here.
So Leadville 100, that's a big one to choose as your first 100. Did you learn some great lessons that helped you get to where you were at that race? I mean, you said you did couch to 100 on that one, but obviously with a lot of fitness behind you.
Well, yeah, fitness is important, but genes, I'm not going to pretend like I don't have a gift. I do. I wouldn't have gotten anywhere in the sport. I wouldn't have been able to quit for 20 years and jump right back in. But you have to run a lot in Leadville. And if you don't train to run like 100-miler, the parts that you're supposed to run, you just can't run. Like I would pass people like they were standing still anytime we went up or down, like anything kind of trail. But you have to run so many road miles and just kind of rolling easy miles. It killed me. And just being up like almost 29 hours, I like the people that run our race, run I'm Tough and finish beyond 30 to 36 hours. I just remember how I felt. I was just a zombie. It's so much harder once the sleep deprivation becomes a factor. And yeah, I don't know if I learned anything except like I did terrible and that it planted the seed that like, let's figure this out. This is kind of cool. Shouldn't you do it better? Now that you've shown that you can do it, why not do it right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't finish Leadville the first time. Crystal and I have friends that have been there 3 years in a row, and they're, wanting to go back and figure out how to get to the finish line. So good job finishing.
Well, my neighbor likes to wear the shirt from that year. I had no idea who he was, but he lives here in Idaho, just like, he used to live about a quarter mile from me. But Tom Sowers, he beat me in the race, and he never lets me live that one down. We had no idea who we were, but we finished within minutes of each other. But he's always got that damn red sweatshirt on. He had it on this weekend. He was working an aid station, red sweatshirt.
So do you guys have a great running crowd, like a running club around there, a group that gets together?
No. People do their own thing here.
Okay.
there are lots of people that run. There's lots of people that dabble in all sorts of things. They do Nordic skiing, snowmobiling, motobiking. There's runners, there's triathlete people. I mean, there's athletes just coming out of the walls here. But people just do their own thing. That was one of the hardest parts of developing I'm Tough, is kind of bringing all that energy together. And it's unlike most races, like you go to Wasatch or Cascade. I mean, it's just running clubs just packed into every aid station because there's so much running community. So most of our aid stations, they're not runners at all. It's people from all kinds of walks of life. So it's very fragmented. There's plenty of runners, but it's people just kind of do their own thing. And I'm guilty. I would much rather just go running by myself. It's kind of just my style.
Yeah, I saw on the pictures that you guys had like motorcycle people out there helping clean up the trail. So it's just people that care about the mountains and the area, and they come together to help people come from out of the area to enjoy them and explore your local trails. Yeah,
that motorcycle group, Citra, Central Idaho Trail Rider Alliance, they actually jumped into the fray when this windstorm blew in a couple days before the race, and they helped tremendously. It was, we don't have a big trail working crew in the Payette National Forest. So my cat's trying to get in on the action here.
Oh, kitty.
So
is that Roby?
No, this is Archer Kitty.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Archer. You're so cute.
Roby Kitty isn't with us anymore. But he was the man. We still miss him.
Yeah, me and Crystal are both major cat lovers.
Yeah, we are too. So yeah, we have people from all different kind of communities that kind of come together, and the love for the race is really, really exploded. And it really is what has made the race what it is. I mean, it's a good course for sure. We try to organize it the best we can, but there's just so much more love. There's people that just give up their time, and it's like they're passionate about going out to Duck Lake and holding down the fort, getting people through there. But now we have like every aid station, people that just kind of look forward to it. And, the race is over and they're like, okay, when's next year? We're in. That's what makes the race what it is. More love.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing that. I know what a labor of love being a race director is, and the runners really appreciate the chance to go explore someplace new, because like if Crystal and I head out there, we may not feel comfortable. Well, I know we wouldn't feel comfortable trying to run 100 miles and taking care of it. So it's really super nice of you to do that. And this is not an easy one, obviously, to put together. And Brandy, thank you.
Brandy is key. She does the behind the scenes. She's a spreadsheet person. She's the aid station person. I'm the course. I become the Facebook voice. But yeah, like you said, Idaho isn't as user friendly. I mean, it's what makes it great. I mean, we don't have a sign at every junction. Some places used to have signs, and they've been burnt. They're from a fire 50 years ago. You can still see remnants, but for the most part, it's choose your own adventure. And yeah, it would be. There are very few people that could just show up and run I'm Tough without it being marked. Very few, and I would be surprised if they actually did it right and didn't get lost. It's that weird and obscure, and it takes, like, I mark every inch of it myself, and I even have to like rerun certain sections to make sure the line is right, because it's not exactly a trail race the whole way.
So it's areas that you've explored and figured out how to connect them together, but it's not
Right.
You're not going to like go to All Trails app and go, hey, where is this?
No, some of the places are. I mean, it goes past lakes that people visit, and But yeah, to do the whole line or to actually make a loop anywhere on the course takes some like some map work and kind of figuring out how to get around. Yeah, but that's what makes this area so great. There's so much public space and so few people. Even coming from Colorado, I mean, Golden, I have to wait in red lights to get to the grocery store. I don't do that here. I love it. And there's other things that, we got into hunting when we moved here. We cut our firewood. We had to learn different things to exist up here. Coming here without a plan for how to survive, we kind of just did the things that I think you would do if you had to survive, if you were in the wild. So, those sort of things have kind of added a new dimension to our life. And we've actually gotten quite into like these other pursuits, and they kind of feed running.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about your elk hunting with bow, and it sounds like like you were talking about, you go off trail, out looking for the elk, and you learn stuff from your run that help you be able to be a hunter. I found that super fascinating. You want to talk a little bit about hunting? I think that I respect it a lot. I love that your family, worships the animals, and it's great nutrition for you, and respects them, and I'm just very fascinated by it. You want to talk about that a little?
Sure. So coming from Ohio, the Midwest, you don't have huge tracts of public land, and most hunting is just tree stand, white-tailed deer, and people are super passionate. My family, people in my family were, but I just couldn't get into it. I had no interest. When I moved out here, started running around, seeing all these giant, awesome, beautiful herds of elk, and then a buddy of mine came to visit, and I shot his bow. And it was like I had this epiphany, like I'm going to get one of these, I'm going to run around the mountains with it, and I'm going to figure out how to do this. And it's going to be a lot like running. And so I just kept that in my mind, that it was going to scratch the same itch that running and climbing mountains does. And I've kind of kept it simple and athletic like that, kept covering ground and climbing the mountains as like a primary concern. The side effect of that is in hunting is you get far away from people, you get far away from other distractions, and the elk act like elk, and that's what it takes for someone with no background in hunting to be able to finish with a bow, where you got to get in tight. So I'll often run, like I have a little bag with my camo stuff in it, and some basic hunting stuff, bow in my hand, and just like running clothes, and I'll run 5, 6, 7 miles deep, and then start my hunting. And the other side effect is that's how you get to the best places, the most beautiful places. So I think that's become my style. I know of places where you can find elk right off the highway, but I like to go to the best places. The elk act like elk. They mate, they fight, they bugle. They're vocal, and you can hunt sort of aggressive, and I'm not sitting around waiting. I'm just kind of going at them, trying my best. And I know, because of my endurance and my background, if I screw it up, I can be right back in there tomorrow. I can go home and sleep in my bed, eat a meal, and be right back there tomorrow, and enjoy that process. So I got into it. I think I've hunted, not counting this season, I've hunted 9 seasons, and I've finished 7 times with the elk. I think there were 2 that I didn't get, and one was like the best season ever, and another one was a season where I was just too tired and too busy. The food's great. It's keeps your iron up, living at altitude and trying to keep red blood cell count high. It's it's like a never-ending supply of really good red meat. We've gotten better at it. We prepare it ourselves and we process it here in our kitchen. Brandy's integral to that. She helps me pack it out. She's got a bow and is a great shot too, but she hasn't let an arrow fly at an animal. Maybe someday, maybe not. It's not easy. I mean, it's physically excruciating. Like my only asset is ultra running for, fitness basically and tenacity. So I have very few skills besides like I just keep throwing myself at the problem and try to keep going.
Yeah, my mom had always told me that you should eat the food that is natural to the area around you. So I am, that's interesting that you say that that's good for altitude and stuff. That it just brought me back to what my mommy always taught me.
Well, I agree. We have wonderful morel mushrooms that we harvest here. The huckleberries were great all summer. I mean, it's hunting and gathering it feels right. I feel different when I come out of the woods. It's like very human. There's with all these screens and all this distraction, like when you're out there, you feel this buzz that's I think it's just being human and like tuning out that I think we're supposed to have that buzz more often. We're supposed to feel scared and hungry and desperate, and we're so sheltered and padded and protected and sterilized, and I think it's right. I mean, I'm not trying to say that if you don't do that, it's wrong, but you try like anytime you get that adrenaline, and you're reminded just how insignificant and precious life is. You try to hunt something beautiful, you'll realize that it's the same feeling. It's terrible, but it feels like right to me. It's hard to describe. It's never easy. I've never finished without crying. I'm certainly not hardened to it at all. I feel, more humbled and it doesn't get easier. It's probably harder at this point, just thinking about the beautiful animals. But when it's all said and done, I can sleep well, like because I know that to me it feels right. Weighing all factors, it feels right.
Yeah, it's part of life. We need to feed our bodies, and I can understand how it would be. It sounds dangerous too. Like it sounds like you need to be pretty close when you're getting them.
But the elk aren't gonna get you.
Okay.
I mean, it's more the danger is from just being out and being lost. I mean, because you're never on a trail when you're hunting. You hunt really rough country. They move fast, and if you're trying to move with them, you can get hurt. You get one down, and there's bears, wolves, and big cats out here, lots of them. So there's that issue, and you're going to be covered in their blood, and standing over them, trying to break them down in the wild. And I don't carry a firearm with me or anything. I just carry my bow, and that's part of it. Like I want to feel susceptible. I want to feel small and weak and open to all things that can happen out there. I'm not trying to own the mountains. I'm not trying to say that I'm superior. I kind of embrace that like susceptibility of all the dangers out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Crystal comes from a hunting family. Do you have anything, Crystal?
No, I don't personally hunt, but my dad and brother do. I remember my dad bow hunting a lot when I was a kid, going out up into, Colorado and north and elk hunting. And he just would express his gratitude for the experience and how it does humble you and how you have to respect the animal and all that. So, and elk is delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
I love
Oh yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. We make burgers and stew and steak and chops
Oh,
and
oh,
ribs and
uh-huh.
a little bit of liver every now and then. I mean,
Yep.
we pick through it. I mean, I break it down myself, and I'm meticulous.
Hmm.
And then we process it here in the kitchen, which just adds like another like level of respect, for what you're going through. I mean,
Yep.
that takes as much time as it does to pack it out. I love packing out. Like people say, the work starts like it's like it feels like the weight is off your back, the world's
Hmm.
is yours. Um, I love carrying heavy meat.
So what do you put it like in a backpack, or how do
Yeah,
you?
just cut it into small pieces and throw it in a backpack.
Yep.
And so you're like 9 miles away from your house or your car. So I don't think you're taking it all at once. Is it take a few trips?
Yeah, like a bull can yield up to like 400 pounds, but a smaller cow would be maybe 200 pounds. So a couple trips, and usually at some point Brandy's in there. We've got our bigger packs, and I can move 100 pounds. Pretty, it's hard, but it's you can do it. Yeah, so a couple trips. A bigger bull in September when it's hot it's a lot. It's 2 to 3 days, and then more processing at home, and it's a bigger adventure for sure.
So that's not so. September must be the hunting season.
It's archery only. August
Okay.
30 to September 30. If you buy what's called the A tag, the B tag is a rifle, and that's October, and you get any weapon, but everyone hunts with a rifle. Then you get 2 or 3 weeks in mid to late October. But yeah, September is archery time.
Something that I just happened to run across on the internet is Medford, Wisconsin's where we're putting on Midwest States 100. It's in the Chequamegon National Forest, and there's
Uh-huh.
bear there. And I was just researching how to get our runners ready for bear, and found out that they reintroduced elk to the area, and there's elk hunting there now too.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I just thought that was really cool. Maybe we'll see some elk while we're out there.
They're
Yeah,
so pretty.
they
They're
are.
gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're in Kentucky. I mean, they've been reintroduced a bunch of places to where the numbers are up to where you can hunt them. I think they're hunting them in Michigan too. Yeah, they're doing well. I mean, they're supposed to be there. They just were driven out and over harvested. But our numbers here are really good. This is a really good season. I'm hoping to get out pretty soon. I just needed to rest. Just too tired to start that process.
Yeah, so September, I'm thinking that that would be part of your training for maybe 100-mile race or something that you have coming up. Do you just consider the hunting as training?
I did. I have. Late September, like I wish there were more races in October, like mountain races. It's just seasonal. It just doesn't work. In 2013, I stopped running 17 days before the bear, and I just hunted, and I ended up not getting one, but the hunting was so good, and I went so hard that it actually like was the perfect taper and peak. So I mean, that race it just felt so easy compared to going through the hunting and carrying my pack and just being off trail and at high altitude that whole time. So I have used it like that. It just doesn't work out that often because there just aren't enough mountain races in October.
Yeah, I forget about that because by us, all the races are October. Like that's the peak time because it's
Yep.
starting to cool down, and that's when you tend to be in your best shape
Yep.
and get ideal racing weather. Well, with the bear coming up, well, I would just want to talk more about your 100-mile racing. Is that your favorite distance to run? It seems like you're really good at that.
Well, it always it has been. I'm just on a bad streak. I've had a bunch of injuries. You know, I started to hit a good. I was going to peak again in 2016, and I tore all my plantar fascia in my left foot. I mean, tore it, like snap, like bang, at Gorge Waterfall, and I kind of limped for a year. That went into 2017. I got a stress fracture from compensating. 18, 19, 20. I mean, I've kind of rebuilt. My mileage is way up. I mean, I'm due for a big one. I just, you know, I actually want to go run I'm Tough, and I might do that, hopefully before the snow comes.
Oh, just as a solo
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. That sounds perfect.
I'm fit. I just need to make sure that I'm not too tired. Like I need some time to recover. My run yesterday just wasn't very promising, and I'm kind of sore, and it was only 8 miles, so that's not very good news. I was hoping to be better off than that. Oh, cat fight.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
So you have 2 cats?
Yeah, that was Moose and Archer.
Oh, Moose and Archer. Perfect.
Oh, cute.
So, yeah, 100 mile is my distance. I was supposed to do High Lonesome this year, and I trained so hard for it all winter and spring, and it never happened. You know, it was a monster 100 miler in Colorado. Hopefully it happens next year, and I'm still gonna focus on that.
What about, well, the Bears coming up? What's that course like? I don't know that much about it. I know you won it, so you must it must have went well. It must have came together well for you.
It did. It used to have some quirks. Like they used to mark it on race day, and if you get past the person marking it, like you're. So I wasted a lot of time. I didn't get the course record by 6 minutes, and I ran around a lot. So I always wanted to go back and clean it up, and you know I that still might be in the cards sometime. This would have been a good year for it. I just thought it was busy, and you know, it has a wait list. So, and I didn't know how I was going to come out of this race, because it was just so much.
Yeah, recovering from you know, the hangover from race directing. You know, you probably put 100 miles on race weekend, if not more, or race week.
For sure. And there were multiple 100-mile weeks. Like about 3 weeks out, I did a big week with the chainsaw, and that's just crushing. I mean, it was hot. It was upwards of 90 degrees, and I'm running around with a chainsaw. It was a lot.
And then you mark the whole course. How many miles of course is that?
100.
Oh, it is. So you don't do anything that you don't redo any part of it?
Actually, you do.
Okay.
But the course was long, so it probably is close to 100, like original miles. Like, but the part that there's 3 miles that you do both ways. It's kind of how the south part of the course connects to the original I'm Tough course.
So besides running your I'm Tough course, do you have any big things coming up that you're looking forward to?
Oh yeah, you know, I want to go down to the Middle Fork of the Salmon, and I want Brandy to drop me off at Dagger Falls, and I want to run out to Big Creek. I mean, out at the exit. So I run through the whole Frank Church Wilderness. It'd be 120-ish miles. And I want to do it like in a single go, no bivy gear, you know, just like run it. So we'll see how the season plays out. Like if the season holds and it doesn't snow too much to where you can't get to those trailheads, then hopefully that could be a big play this still to happen this winter.
Are you gonna do an FKT or like submit that, or just go do it just to see what you can do?
There's so many awesome backcountry adventures. I mean, I don't know. I just want an awesome experience. I want to feel little and weak and vulnerable, and I want to run through it, you know, and come out the other end. That's what I want from it.
Oh, that's great. So maybe we should get to the Ornery Mule Stubborn 5 here. So you may not have heard the show before, but Crystal's gonna do the next part here.
Okay.
Okay, so the Ornery Mule Stubborn 5, it's 5 questions, and you can answer them as ornery or as fast or as annoying or as whatever. You just answer them, you know, quick. So here we go. Question 1 is share one thing about you that people may not know.
I was born in East Liverpool, Ohio, May 5th, 1979.
Nice. I lived in Ohio too.
That's great.
All right, number 2, first pair of running shoes are?
Well, they would have been Nike waffle racers. And
Okay.
yeah, I probably had like a pair from Payless or something first, like a Velcro. But the first one, like, you used to not be able to, in 1985, you couldn't get real kids shoes, but my dad special ordered them. So it was and then I know I had a pair of Duelists, like they were like that big, and they were 2 ounces. And they were like air on your feet. Nike Duelist.
Oh my gosh.
That's the shoe I remember more than anything.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people's first shoe were Nikes.
Yeah, they were pretty big back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still are, but there weren't all these options. There was New Balance, Saucony, Nike, just a couple.
Yep. All right, number 3. Have you had any epic hallucinations while running?
No.
Ooh.
Good nutrition.
Well,
Right.
the only time I hallucinate is when I'm trying to drive sleepy, and that's not smart or safe, but
This is
that's
the worst time to hallucinate.
Right. But like when you get sleepy, like raccoons will run out in the road and trees but that's the only time I've ever hallucinated in my life, is driving sleepy. But I don't
What did you hallucinate while driving sleepy?
Raccoons in the road and trees that like have faces and
Oh.
you know, I don't think I did at Leadville. That was the only time. Like normally when I run 100, it's like I'm wired pretty tight. Like I either blow up and, you know, get injured and drop out, or like it's 17, 18 hours of like being really on, like more on than I think I've ever been in any other walk of life.
Nice. All right, question 4 is who is the biggest influence in your life?
My father, 100%. Gerald Lee Humphrey. Today, let's see. Today he'd be 71. 71? Yeah, 71. Today's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Number 5 is what's your favorite treat for a job well done?
Pumpkin pie.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like food. I mean, it's pie. I love pie, but pumpkin pie is actually food. I mean, there's good stuff in there. But man, I could eat a whole pumpkin pie right now.
And then we're gonna do a 6th one, and ask about your rescue.
Okay, yeah. Isn't that why we called?
Yeah. Well,
we left a minute for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, we can go over unless you are need to get to basketball. But I really thought that it was really like it was so. It was it's very interesting how everything you've done in your life made you the perfect person to go rescue Laura out in the wilderness. So I felt like that was really important to kind of go through all of that, because that's why I think that explains how lucky she was that you were local to the area. So can you tell us, how did you hear about it? What happened?
So I woke up, I think it was a Friday morning. I guess the wheels got turning on Thursday, but I don't have Facebook or anything. But Brandy does. She woke up I got out of bed, I was going to go for a long run, and she told me, hey, this thing from the Valley County Sheriff's on Facebook said that there's a missing hiker. They said that they had located her car. So I just kind of changed where I was going to go running that day. And I kind of took a longer roundabout kind of way to get there, because I figured that they would be searching out by the car. And the mountain system that this was all taking place is part of is kind of the highlight of our 100-mile race of I'm Tough. So it's the crest line. So you can start at the north end, or you can start at the south end. It's 15 to 20 miles, depending on what you do and how you get there. So I started at the south end and ran towards the north, kind of checking like any spot, any place that people would go on purpose, like for a legitimate reason. Like I was giving her the benefit of the doubt that she's not stuck somewhere. She's just off on a long hike, and so what that she didn't tell anyone. She's just at a lake somewhere, and people do that, and it's a big country, and you don't always, sometimes you just want to get away from it. So I started checking kind of obscure lakes along the way, try to hit all the ones that were obvious. I tried to go off trail a bunch to just find little blue spots on the map that don't have names. So I started getting up in the high teens in miles, and I knew I was getting close to where the other search radius was. So I was going to have to start running back, because my car was, I was getting up near 20 miles, and like the day was wearing on, and I was going to have to get turned back. So I had my binoculars with me, and I was stopping and glassing frequently and yelling her name, kind of wherever I would get to a new spot where my voice would carry, I would yell. So, and I was also in contact throughout the day with Valley County Sheriff's Department, their dispatch there. So I was kind of checking, like, have the searchers been here? But I still hadn't seen any of them. So I didn't really know, like, I was tracking them, doing a lot of stuff that I do while hunting, get higher and glass down. The higher you are, the easier it is to see below you. Whereas if you're below, you can't really tell what's up above, and sound doesn't really carry uphill as well. So I was tracking, I was looking for her footprints. I was looking for any sign of any people that had been camping. So I got to the point where I had to turn around. It was getting too late. I had one last little lake, and it was so promising, and it looked so perfect, and it would have made such good sense that she was just there and just chilling and having a camp, fishing and hanging out. But she wasn't there. So I called the sheriff again, said I'm gonna like pick a vector to kind of go down and intersect the trail. I started down, still focused, but kind of disheartened. I had decided I was going to climb the peaks above that basin and get a better look tomorrow. So I was going to kind of just run out, like quit being the searcher for a little bit and just cover miles. But as soon as I got to the trail, I was going to have to flip that switch and go. But I dropped a couple hundred feet. I yelled one more time, and I heard a response. So I was still a quarter mile, maybe more away. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't get an answer. Like I was screaming, "Are you Laura?" And she was kind of just like trying to ask me about like the lake over there and what's going on. Like, so I didn't really know. I thought it was maybe another person that was on the search and rescue. So I had to cross a little drainage so I just like full adrenaline, hammered down, hammered up. Now I'm on this ridge looking straight down at her, maybe 200 yards. I'm screaming, "Are you Laura? Are you Laura?" Still no answer. She's pointing at this lake over here. Is that Brush Creek or Brush Lake? So I just full gas straight at her. Like, it's like all the trees are falling there. It's really rough. It's hard to move, but it was like full adrenaline. And I got maybe 10 steps from her. I said, "Please tell me you're Laura." She said, "Oh yeah." So, and I saw her dog. Like I finally got, it was just amazing. I mean, I kind of felt it coming the entire day. Like I knew as soon as Brandy told me about it, I said, like, I'm going to go find her. Like I knew the area so well. I've hunted there. I've climbed all the peaks above, and you know, I can just go and not stop in that kind of terrain. And it's not, you don't just walk around up there. You're constantly jumping over. It burned, I think, in '94, the Blackwell fire. So any trees that are there are either standing without branches, like they're just silvered or blacked, and most of them are just laid down because every windstorm knocks them down. So I don't know. I kind of just had a feeling that if I just kept grinding, like this was going to happen. So my initial assessment, like she told me, so I thought she had just like got lost yesterday. So she said she'd been out there for a week and she hadn't eaten in over 4 days. So I dumped my pack. You know, I'd carried a bunch of stuff, a bunch of extra energy bars and some sports drink and stuff. Her dog was super hungry too. Laura and Flora. But I got out the sports drink first. Like I was like, drink this. This will get this, you know, get some water in your stomach. And she was by a little pothole, little tarn. It was kind of like brackish, kind of red and warm. But she had been drinking it, so I mean, she was not completely dehydrated. So she drank that down, and she got sharp like right now. Like her brain was back to, you know, 200 calories of sugar straight to the brain, you know, and you're sharp again. Yeah, like she needed a meal and rest, but that at least gets the wheels turning up here, so that, you know. And so I had to run about 100 yards to get better service. You know, I called the sheriff. They made me hang up and dial 911. That way it puts an immediate trace on. They told me that they had Two Bear Air, which is a philanthropic air rescue, was kind of on standby in the area. And they said that they're going to come for her, and they want me to come too. And it wasn't necessary. Like I didn't need it. I thought that she and I could just walk out. Like I could put her pack on. But here comes the chopper. Like I'm driving Laura she had a tent set up to like break that down, shove everything in her pack. I didn't know if they were going to like come out and just like drop down like on a rappel or a long line haul. I didn't know. Eventually, so they had to burn a bunch of gas to make up for her weight and her pack and Flora. So they circled for a while, and after a half hour, they went down about a half mile from us, which was great. That means it's not going to be some dramatic, you know, guy on a cable sort of thing. So I put her pack on. We climbed over all the down timber, and Flora kind of made her way. Flora was very tired. She had had enough of that. It was, you know, Laura was badly sunburned, tired and hungry, but still tough, like really tough, not complaining, not, you know, nothing negative, just like, you know, let's get this done. And I guarantee that we could have walked out of there, but it was smart. There were other medical stuff I'm not going to talk about, but time was important. And like after 4 days, I don't know. I mean, you can just decide that you're done, and it can just be over at that point. I mean, people give up with less on their plate than that. So timing was important, but she was still fighting.
Well, thank you for doing that. How lucky for her. Have you got to reconnect with her since then?
Just some texts. So I just needed this race to get over. Like everything in my life had to stop until I'm tough. You know, she wants to. She works at a really nice place here in town, and wants to treat Brandy and I to a nice dinner. And you know, hopefully we'll have some time to talk and you know, kind of fill in some of the blanks. You know, like I said, it's a small community here, but people do their own thing, and that's kind of the style here. You know, apparently she's been doing this for years and has tons of experience at backcountry camping, and she was just trying to go from one lake to the next without using the trail. Like she would have had to walk a couple extra miles. She was just trying to cross country and just got turned around. And it's so big and so impossibly vast and open that she just kind of got turned around. And I think, once you do that and you lose your energy, because you're not eating and, taking in the right stuff, I guess it can happen to anyone.
Well, thank goodness you were there. Would the rescue have found her, or were they close?
Close-ish, but I don't know. I mean, these rescue groups are great, and I mean, I know a lot of the people, and I know one of them is a accomplished 100-mile runner too. It's just that you're more restricted and confined with all that gear, with all that protocol. It's much easier just to go and go. It's not recommended, because you can get lost. You can become, you can make the problem worse. But I wasn't doing anything that I wouldn't have been doing on that day anyway. Just humping through the mountains. That's what I was going to do. I was going to run 30 or 40 miles, and that's what I ended up doing. Well, actually, my day was a little shorter, because after she got loaded on and taken off and taken away, she actually handed me her keys right before she left, because her car was at this north trailhead. So we were only about 3.5 miles from her car, so not that far away. It doesn't matter a hill of beans if you don't know which way to go, because you're just as likely to go 3.5 miles the wrong way. But it wasn't that far away. So I intersected the trail, ran out, and brought her car. She went to the fire department and refused medical. So she was still solid. And I dropped off her car, and that was it. And that saved, she needed to go home and not be driving up in the mountains. And her car would have been stuck up there, and who knows for how long. I mean, it was like a crime scene, like taped off. So we just tore that down. I got in. It was nice to drive a car that actually has a suspension. Our cars are just hammered from forest road driving. Yeah, I think I PR'd my descent down that road. Yeah. She had XM. I put on Tom Petty radio, and it was definitely a PR.
Well, that's great. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for coming on. I mean, what a great life you've led, and example that you are, and thank you for everything that you do.
Well, thanks for having me. I've done a couple. I haven't done a podcast or a video thing like this, but I got a call from Kelly Clarkson. Like that was kind of weird. Yeah, that Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
That Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, I didn't go on the show, but it's. I think like we need some good news, and it's cool like to have some good news. I after this, I'll just disappear, and I'll be running around the mountains, and no one will see me again. But I guess we need some good news, and this is good. I mean, it's kind of a long shot. I don't think anyone knew how serious it was, or how what it was going to turn into. It's just because no one really knew that she was out there, and it was very vague about. So a lot of things came together. In a pretty special kind of way to kind of have her be safe and not even needing medical care. Like it's I wouldn't say a miracle, but it was a long shot, and it's like society needs to know that you can face long odds, and like we're gonna get by, and life's gonna go on, and life's gonna be good.
I agree.
So I'm happy to share.
I agree. Absolutely.
I'm happy to share for that. It's not my style to sit around and have you guys talk about, how awesome I am. This is, I don't care for that. This is weird and unusual for me. But I'm happy to share because like we need it. You know?
I agree. Like with COVID and just what's going on in the world, I think that that's one reason everybody gravitated towards the story and
Yeah.
was so excited. It was something good for us all to get behind. And getting ready to and then in the podcast we do research and find out about who we're talking to, and you are clearly a very private person. I had to like get my super detective stuff out to try to and go back way far, so I know you're gonna go back into the mountains and do your thing, and very private, and we respect your privacy and really appreciate you coming on and sharing and inspiring everybody.
Well, it's been an amazing summer. I'm happy to share. It seems special and noteworthy, like unusually so. So, yeah, it's good to talk about it. Maybe it's therapeutic for me too.
Yeah, and for everybody that hears it, your whole story. I think your whole story is great. If you weren't private, I think it would be a really great book.
Well, I don't know that I'm private. I'm just too busy doing it to talk about it.
Okay, yeah, that's
And
good.
to social media, and I don't know. Like I don't need those pieces. I don't need to relive it, like, because I'm doing it. I'm doing it every day, And if you're too busy doing it, you just don't. I just don't feel the need to talk about it all the time. But I mean, running's my life. I mean, I share it with my wife. I'm a coach. I share it with my athletes. I think I share it through race directing. I share my running through race directing more than anything. I want people, when they come away from I'm Tough, to like feel what I put into it. I want it to have an indelible mark on them, a scar, either good or bad. I want it to be a life altering experience. And I think we've gotten there.
Yeah, I agree that you have.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll be releasing the podcast. We'll let you know. And we'll send a message to you, and maybe Brandy. I don't know who Loretta has been talking to. And thank you to Loretta for organizing all this. So she works behind the scenes for us and helps us with research, and she helps us connect and schedules, because it's hard to get everybody together at once. And then I look over here every once in a while. My son Royal, he does all the technical so that we can do on this. You can watch it afterwards on YouTube, and you'll see it doesn't look like what we're looking at right now.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, so it's a team and we're just figuring it out, and have a lot of fun working together. So thank you everybody for that.
Yes, thank you. And then I wanted to real quick jump in and talk to everyone about our new Patreon page. You go to our Facebook, the Dirt Trail Running Podcast Facebook page, and there's a link for the Patreon. You can join. You can get, discount codes throughout the year and special swag. So come on, check it out. Love us. Thank you. Oh, also give us reviews on iTunes. 5-star reviews.
Yeah, we hate to ask, but we have to have those 5-star reviews for it to show up in the algorithm, or however that stuff works. So we really appreciate them. Maybe we'll start reading some of those 5-star reviews at some of our shows. We'll have to do that, because there's some good ones.
That's a good idea.
So
awesome.
Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
It was my pleasure.